New details for foreign visitors to the U.S. All travelers must provide a negative virus test before boarding a plane to the U.S., even if they are vaccinated. Dr. Fauci is feeling the heat. 24 bipartisan lawmakers are demanding answers over reports that Fauci's institute used taxpayer dollars to fund cruel and unnecessary experiments on dogs. And Indiana officials are welcoming Chicago police officers who oppose their city mandate to relocate. This comes as Arkansas governor says the vaccine mandates are increasing resistance to getting the jab. Tune in to Deep Dive as we explore these topics and more. Hello and welcome. This is Deep Dive and I'm Tiffany Meier. The U.S. State Department announces the details of travel restrictions for foreign visitors. Beginning November 8th, foreign nationals must be fully vaccinated and provide proof of vaccination before they can board a flight to the U.S. There are limited exceptions for children under 18 and certain individuals from countries where vaccines are not yet readily accessible. But they still have to show a negative virus test.
Those who are eligible to travel but not yet vaccinated will need to provide proof of a negative COVID-19 test within 1 day before their flight's departure. For those who are vaccinated, the testing requirement remains 3 days before their flight. And that testing requirement applies to everyone, not just foreign nationals, but also U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents.
There will also be new federal contact tracing requirements. CDC officers will spot check passengers after they arrive in the U.S. to see if they are complying. Airlines that don't enforce the requirements could be fined up to nearly $35,000 per violation. And what about at the state level? Indiana officials are welcoming Chicago police officers who refuse to comply with their city's COVID-19 vaccine mandate. Republican Senator Mike Brown from Indiana tweeted, "Those who dedicated their lives to serving and protecting our nation's citizens deserve the utmost respect. Come work in Indiana." He also said, "My office has already heard from many Chicago police interested in serving Hoosiers." Munster, Indiana's police chief, told Fox News that there is a brighter future right over the border for officers who are under scrutiny for their views on the vaccine mandates. And he noted that his department has already hired one individual from Chicago. Indiana State Police Surgeon Glenn Fifield tweeted, "Hey, Chicago police officers, we are hiring. No vaccine mandate. Apply today. Lower taxes, great schools, welcoming communities." In Chicago, Mayor Lori Lightfoot's vaccine mandate requires all city workers, including police officers, to upload their vaccination status by October 15th. Those who didn't comply were placed on unpaid leave. The president of Chicago's Fraternal Order of Police, a police union, has encouraged officers not to comply with the mandates. He rallied officers and other city workers outside City Hall on Monday to oppose the vaccine mandate. The mayor's office said that 79% of city employees had confirmed vaccination status by the deadline. Among those who reported, 84% were fully vaccinated. And they got more than 4,000 requests for religious or medical exemptions, but they didn't say how many were approved. As of last Thursday, 21 Chicago officers have been placed on no-pay status for refusing to comply with the city's mandate. Meanwhile, Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson told CNN that vaccine mandates are making people more resistant to getting the shot. He said the resistance is hard in some areas, and part of it is simply because of the controversy, because of the mandates. It deepens the resistance, and so that is something we have to overcome. Adding, "But I don't see that controversy going away anytime soon. With OSHA issuing mandates for businesses to require vaccination of employees, that is going to intensify the controversy." He has defended businesses that impose vaccination requirements on workers. And while he's against banning vaccine passports, he is also against imposing a statewide mandate. He says such a requirement, quote, "would probably increase vaccination rates, but it also would increase the resistance of some. Some would lose their jobs. It would hurt their families, and it would, in the broader population, also create that controversy and resistance. So it's a balance there." Arkansas lawmakers recently passed a measure that allows workers to opt out of mandates by proving they had the virus and recovered, or natural immunity. The governor allowed it to go into effect on October 13th. That's because lawmakers could have overridden his veto. Arkansas is currently around 48% fully vaccinated. Now, let's turn to an area of outrage, tax dollars being used to fund puppy torture. A bipartisan group of 24 Congress members is demanding answers from Dr. Anthony Fauci. That's over reports that his institute, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, or NIAID, funded cruel and unnecessary drug toxicity experiments in dogs. Documents show that NIAID spent $1.68 million in taxpayer funds for animal experimentation between October 2018 and February 2019. The experiment involved injecting and force-feeding 44 beagle puppies between 6 and 8 months old with an experimental drug for several weeks before killing and dissecting them. There was also experimentation on mice. The tests were conducted at SRI International, a research group headquartered in Menlo Park, California. A nonprofit government watchdog known as the White Coat Waste Project obtained the documents via a Freedom of Information Act request. The watchdog said that this is the NIAID's fourth experiment on beagles they have been able to uncover. The group also found that more than $400,000 in taxpayer money was spent on experiments during which beagles were infected with parasites via biting flies. The lawmakers wrote to Fauci in a letter, while documents state that the ostensible purpose of this study was to provide data of suitable quality and integrity to support the application to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and other regulatory agencies. The FDA itself has recently stated that it does not mandate that human drugs be studied in dogs. And there's more. Congress members noted an invoice to NIAID that involved an item called a cardectomy. That's also known as devocalization or debarking. The procedure involves slitting a dog's vocal cords to remove its ability to bark, howl, or cry. They note in the letter this cruel procedure seems to have been performed so that experimenters would not have to listen to the pain cries of the beagle puppies. This is a reprehensible misuse of taxpayer funds. The American Veterinary Medical Association, the American Animal Hospital Association, and other organizations oppose debarking with rare exceptions. The lawmakers are asking Fauci to answer the following questions by November 9th. How many drug tests involving dogs have been funded by NIAID since January 2018? How much taxpayer money has been spent on this testing? And since the Food and Drug Administration has clearly stated that it does not require dog testing for new drugs, why has the NIAID continued to commission testing on dogs? What has NIAID done to explore the use of non-canine and non-animal alternatives to meet FDA data requirements? Has the NIAID ever made any dogs available for adoption after the conclusion of or experiment of testing? Why has the NIAID contracted for cardectomies when they appear to be scientifically and medically unnecessary? And what is the average cost for each cardectomy performed? And that's not the only area Fauci is feeling the heat. Fauci is pushing back over accusations that the U.S. funded virus research in China. According to newly disclosed documents sent from the National Institutes of Health to lawmakers, the NIH appear to have funded gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The newly disclosed documents outline research conducted between June 1, 2018 and May 31, 2019. They primarily consist of the fifth and final progress report for the series of grants. Some experts say the experiments match the definition of gain-of-function research. Gain-of-function is a type of research that generally means increasing a biological agent's transmissibility or the pathogen's ability to cause disease. An experiment at the Wuhan lab compared mice infected with the original bat coronavirus to mice infected with a modified strain created by researchers. Lawrence Tabak, the principal deputy director at NIH, told lawmakers in letters that the mice infected with the modified version, quote, became sicker than those infected with the original version. Jonathan Latham, executive director of the Bioscience Research Project, told the Epoch Times in an email that the genetic manipulation of both MERS and the SARS conducted in Wuhan clearly constituted gain-of-function experiments. And Richard Ebright, a molecular biologist with Rutgers University, wrote on Twitter that the NIH corrects untruthful assertions by NIH Director Collins and NIAID Director Fauci that NIH had not funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan. Fauci, meanwhile, continues to deny that the NIH funded gain-of-function research. He said on ABC's This Week,
Neither I nor Dr. Francis Collins, the director of the NIH, lied or misled about what we've done.
Adding that the research in question does not constitute research of gain of function of concern. And now before we end, Sotheby's is putting an example of the world's first postage stamp up for auction. The stamp is called the Penny Black and is expected to take in $8.25 million.
It is the very first, and it is the earliest known, dated stamp. It came from the very, very first sheet ever printed. The auction price in sterling will be set at between £4 and £6 million. I'd be disappointed if it didn't therefore exceed that, because this is a world icon. It is the world's first stamp. It took me 3 years with a team of people to collect the information and to be able to validate. It is certified by all of the top authorities and has been shown in major events as the star item.
Before the introduction of this stamp, when mailing something, the recipient paid the postage cost. The stamp is one of 3 penny blacks believed to have survived from the very first sheet of printed stamps. The other 2 are part of the British Postal Museum's collection. The current owner obtained the stamp and its document around 10 years ago. He undertook a 3-year research project to determine its authenticity. The stamp has certificates from the Royal Philatelic Society and the British Philatelic Association. Sotheby's says it's the first of its kind to be offered at auction. But what do you think? Let me know below. Thanks for tuning in to Deep Dive. I'm Tiffany Meier, and see you soon.